Welcome to Collecting Chaos. My name is James, and this is Coffee with Chaos. Or Coffee with Collecting Chaos, which is the actual title. I thought I'd kick it off with something I bought the other day. I was wandering around in a section of Walmart, and I saw these click erasers, so I decided to buy some because I buy all kinds of erasers to try them out on comics. And so I decided to try this one. And I have an old 4-star Spectacular here that's in really ratty shape. And I was thinking about pressing it, although it needs some repairs that I may or may not do. Probably not, because of the condition. And I noticed that it was really dirty. I don't know if you can see that or not. But see how nasty and dirty that is on this side? And how clean it is on this side. Well, this side I went over with that Pentel eraser, not real hard, but back and forth, and it took it off really well. I'm really impressed. That's about 10 minutes. That's all it took to get that off and get it to look like that. And you can see, I think you can see the difference between the two sides. This side over here is without the eraser, and this one is, I did use the eraser. Same thing with this. This coupon, I didn't use the eraser on. This one I did. So I think it's going to work out pretty well. And so if you want to get into cleaning your comics and they've got dirt on them like that, I'd recommend going ahead and get some of these Pentel click erasers or any click eraser with an eraser that's a little more rubbery than the ones I usually use, which are these, and these are pretty stiff. And I also use the pencil topper erasers and art gum erasers and kneaded erasers. I use all kinds of erasers on comics. But I thought I'd go ahead and kick it off with that. And I can't see if anybody's talking or not because I don't have my comments on. There we go. Yeah, okay. We've got it now. So that's the first thing. Next, I'm going to go ahead and show you some comics that I have pressed over the last week or week and a half or so. I'll have to get them from my box back here. I pressed a few. Just a couple. I press 3 a day, so this is about 2 weeks worth. And I'm going to start off with this one, Hulk 236. Pressed that. It was in decent shape, but it had some dents and some slight bends in it, and now it doesn't. So that was the first one. Hey Apple, how you doing, Horizon? Glad you both could stop in. Next I did Hulk 176, and this one is available for sale if anybody wants it. It's like $10. This is Hulk 176. Same thing. It had some dents and some minor bends in the cover, but it doesn't anymore. It does still have some light spine creases. I'm keeping this. I decided I'm going to go ahead and keep that. And I'm also keeping this one, which I also pressed. Again, same thing. It had some dents and some waviness and wrinkles, but now it's clean and it's pretty and it's going back in my collection. Jackson Roy Clerk, Kurt, glad you could stop in. 178. This is also going into back into my collection. And the reason these 3 comics are going into my collection is they have Warlock in them, and I'm a fan. And yeah, nice and flat and no problems. No more bends, no more dents. I'm separating these as I do this, by the way. Then I have Incredible Hulk 257. This one is still available for sale. This was about $10. And the same thing, no more dents or wrinkles or little creases. I'm not really, this is not a sales channel, or this is not a sales show per se. It's general talk. But when I do show comics and they happen to be for sale, I'll let you know. And then I did my Classics Illustrated that I got recently. This is Hunchback of Notre Dame. Number 18. I forget what printing this is, but it's a later printing. And this one really turned out nice. I mean, you can still see the creases, obviously, because those aren't going to come out. But it turned out a whole lot nicer than I expected. And of course, that goes in my collection. All the Classics Illustrated pretty much go in my collection. The Pioneer is number 37, Classics Illustrated. Same thing. This one had some minor dents in it. Of course, it doesn't now, but it did. Number 48, David Copperfield. Now, I didn't clean any of these. These are just, I just pressed them. If I cleaned it, I'll tell you. Silas Mariner, this one is in pretty bad shape, but it came out nice. As you can see, the spine has a lot of problems, but it's one that I didn't have. The Jungle Book. This is number 83. I really like the Classics Illustrated. Again, it goes back in my collection, or goes into my collection. It was never in before. Number 85 is Seawolf. And I did the Classics originally to check the settings on what I needed to do and how I wanted to set up my my pressing area, which I showed in a video. I gave a tour of my pressing area. There's Under Two Flags, number 86. And this one I was really happy to get, even though it's not in the best condition in the world. This is number 101, William Tell. And it's the reason I was happy to get it is a first print. The numbering on the back goes to number 101, which this is what that is. And on the interior page, it tells what's in the next issue. And that's how you tell if it's first print or not. How you doing, Kenneth Bird? Glad you could stop in. So, yeah, I'm happy with the way it turned out. Not super happy about the condition, but hey, I'm just glad to have it. Conquest of Mexico, number 156. And with this one, I decided, I need some way to tell if I've pressed it or not. So I went ahead and made little labels. And Kollecting Kaos pressing. And this one was actually done in October, and it's number 1. So that's the first one out of my new press, even though there's other ones with other numbers. This one, Roy, you'll recognize this one. This is a Classics Illustrated Junior. I got it from Roy. Now, it had paper here, but I managed to get the paper off, but not some of the ink transferred off of the paper onto the cover. But it's still a whole lot nicer than what it was. And I added something with this one. This is the first one I pressed in November. And as you can see, I added a P for press. Now, if I clean and press a comic that I'm going to end up putting up for sale, underneath here, I will write, I'll print that it's been cleaned. That way I know exactly what's happened on a book. Here's a gold key that's going in my collection. 55 Days at Peking. And it turned out pretty nice. It's not in the best shape in the world, but it's nice and flat. Dell Comics separated from Gold Key and or separated into Western Publishing owned Dell, and they also owned Gold Key, and they changed all their titles from Dell to Gold Key. Well, Dell Comics was still making comics, and that's why you have some that are original that are not part of the Gold Key line and not part of the previous Dell line. And that's like this one. This is World War II stories. This one is Omega the Unknown, number 8. Gil Kane cover, first Fool Killer. Of course, it's been pressed. It has a number on it now. It is still available for sale for $10. It turned out really, really nice. I could probably up the price on that if I wanted, but I won't. Tales to Astonish, number 84. This one turned out pretty nice also. Wave of Mutilation. Welcome to the channel. This one is still available for sale for $15 if anybody wants that. He'd have to be omega-3 to like eggs. There's number 94, Tales to Astonish. Dana Adkins did the cover to that. It turned out a lot better than I expected. It's still available at $18. And if you do want to buy something, you can put it in the comments. You can hit me up on Instagram or put it down below in the comments. I'll see it. Incredible Hulk number 239. Al Milgrom did the cover to this one. It's still available for $10. This next one is going back in my collection because I really like the character. Not the first character, but the second character. Frank Miller did the cover, and it's the first appearance of Mockingbird. It's Marvel Team Up number 95. It is going to go back in my collection. I thought long and hard about it, and after I saw it pressed, I went, yeah, I'm keeping that. This one, some of you may have seen before. This is the one that was water stained and had all those wrinkles. This is E-Man number 2. I have a copy of E-Man number 2 that isn't pressed, so it doesn't look quite as good as this one does. It still has the real light water stains on the back. I'm going to go. I had it at $5. I'm going to go $3 on this one because of the water stains that I didn't know were there. But it's still a nice copy. This next one is going in my collection. Our Fighting Forces, number 176. Of course, it's Joe Kubert. Yes, I did. I steam all the comics because it's been real dry here. Some of them I do a real light steam, but it relaxes the paper and allows it to take the form that I want a little bit better. This one is going in my collection. The DC Comics Presents the number is number 11. I didn't have this one. I thought I did, but I didn't have it. Hold the comic about 8 inches away if you try a steamer. This one I was really disappointed in because as I was getting ready to press it, I noticed that it's actually missing some pieces on the inside. And I had it at $10, and I'm still going to offer it up for sale, but not for $10. If somebody wants this, it'd be about $3 or $4. It is missing some parts on the inside. So that's Jack Kirby from 1965, Tales to Astonish number 73. Real disappointed that it was actually missing pieces. Here's Tales to Astonish number 67. This one was $20, and it's going to stay $20. It turned out pretty nice. Of course, I can't do anything about the creases that are in it, but I did make it a lot flatter. That's I assume a previous owner, that's Steve M, and he also has his name on the back of the comic. Here's Tales to Astonish number 66. Jack Kirby cover, of course. This one is still available for sale for $20. And it turned out really nice. Like I said, you can't do anything about the creases that break color when you're doing a press, but you can get out the wrinkles and the dents. Yeah, he did. This one probably didn't need a press, but I decided to do it anyway. I saw a light bend down in one of the corners. This is Marvel Team Up number 117, Spider-Man and Wolverine. Bob Layton did the cover of that. Of course, Bob Layton was instrumental in starting Valiant, and it turned out really, really nice. There's Spider-Man, Captain America. That's Marvel Team Up number 106. Frank Miller did the cover on that. And this one is also available for $10. The previous one was $10 as well. I should probably send this one to get graded, but I'm not going to. Marvel Team Up number 3. This is a gorgeous book now. Turned out really, really nice. I have it at 65. I think that's a very fair price. Well, since it says the Scorpion, I would guess that's who it is. Here's another book that turned out better than I expected. This is Outlaw Kid, number 5. And I can't see what I had the price on it at. But it is going to be up for sale. $10. Yeah, that's the third appearance of Morbius. Here's another one that turned out nice. Marines in Action number 12. I might have to raise the price on this to $10. I had it at 8. I'd still sell it at 8. Marines in Action number 11. As you can see, it has some color fading. When they're finished. My favorite part of pressing books is when they're finished. And kind of selecting which ones to press. This next one is one of the few, is one of two that I have pressed for someone else after they purchased a book from me. I need to have a sip of my coffee. And I will be sending it out to him tomorrow morning. Slow Death number 3. This is a third print. Turned out really, really nice. Of course, it still has all those creases and missing ink spots, but it's so flat. It turned out really a lot better than I expected. This one, Mr. Unknown Comics guy owns it, and I'll be sending it to him in the morning. Along with this one, Slow Death number 7, first print. Again, it turned out really, really nice. And like I said, those are going to him. I'll be boxing those up after the show and getting them ready to send out tomorrow morning. This is Marines in Action number 6. Now, this is just a really poor copy. But, I mean, it is what it is. It's an old Atlas comic from the 50s, from 1956. It's almost as old as I am. So give it some credit. It has almost as many creases as me, too. I had this at 25. I'd go 20 on it if somebody wants it. The next one I'm putting back in my collection. Now, I don't have the tape over it, so I'm going to have to cover it slightly. That's Leather Nun, and it's going back in my collection. It just turned out too nice not to. But I'm not putting it back in my collection because of the way it turned out. I'm putting it back in my collection because the back has a hole in it. And I can fix it, but if I fix it, I'm not going to want to sell it. So I'm just gonna keep it, and that'll make it easier. And this next one I think is going to go back in my collection for about 5 or 6 years, and see if it can't hit $1,000, and that's Tax. I still need to do a little bit of work to it. It has some ticks on the spine that I can remove. I just haven't had time. But this is like a $300 to $400 book, and I think it'll go up more. So that's going back in my collection for a while. And that's what I have pressed over the last 2 weeks. Next week, I'll give you another update on what I've pressed, but there won't be so many of them. So, yeah, the Slow Death really improved. It's a lot better than what I expected. And like I said, if you can pick up one of these click erasers, you saw what it did for that one. I'll show it again for those that weren't here in the beginning. But after about 10 minutes, it went, this area here went from this dingy dirtiness to the cleanliness that's this. So definitely worth picking up one of those, and it's really easy to use. As it is right now, if I were grading it, I'd give it about a 9.2 or 9.4 if I were grading it right now, but I'm really harsh. Once I get the spine ticks fixed, which won't be that difficult to do, it'll get a higher grade if I decide to grade it. And if I do decide to grade it, I would send it to CBCS. I wouldn't send it to CGC. Yeah. And you can actually use a little bit of pressure, but not much. Um, Matter of fact, when I was doing it, I was holding it like this, which is how you should hold a pencil when you draw. Not like this, but like this. And that prevents you from putting too much pressure on it. But like I said, as that is right now, I would give it about a 9.2. But I am picky. So yeah, like the light sketch with eraser. I went to the thrift store. They didn't have anything really good. There was some D&D tiles that I almost picked up, but then I saw something else and picked that up instead. I only had like $5 on me, so what I ended up picking up, and the only reason I bought it is because they had clothes. I picked up some Barbies because they had clothes, and I know with the clothes I can get $5 to $10 each for them easy. So that's why I picked those up. I'm going to show a different tool every week. As we do this, I'll show a different tool each week and what I can do with it or what I have done with it. And then I'll probably feature this in a video very soon. Yeah, isn't that weird? I bought 4 Barbies because, I don't have enough. I've only got like 600 or so. Really need to start listing them. But I'm still in the process of identifying most of them. So those, like I said, I get probably $5 to $10 for those easy, simply because they have clothes. Hey, there's a reason why I call the channel Collecting Chaos. Is there anybody have any questions? I have a half a cup of coffee. I'm good for a while for questions. Yeah. Yeah, because you can never have too many, right? I actually like this one, the one with the butterfly wings. I kind of like that one. I would sell it if somebody offered me the right amount of money, like $20. I've got a couple of mermaids over here. They're the same one, but one has had its hair cut. And I don't feel like rerouting the hair. I know how to do that, but if you're going to deal with toys and you're going to deal with comics, you got to know how to clean them. You got to know how to take care of them. And you got to know what to do with them, how to identify. A small bin full. Yeah. Ryan from Card Shop Reality is on. Good to see you, Ryan. Glad you could stop in. Just here browsing. I picked up a Vivor. Wasn't too horribly expensive, and I really like it. I might end up buying a second one instead of repairing the old press, which is interesting. I bought everything I needed to repair my old press. I got a new soldering iron because my old soldering iron died. I bought a new pair of wire strippers because my old wire strippers disappeared uh, during the shuffling around and moving everything around. Now, I'm not saying anybody took it. I'll probably find them eventually, but I couldn't find them, so I bought a new pair. I bought wire, which I need because I need to rewire that press. Uh, got ready to take care of it, and I thought, well, I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to go ahead and do some other things first because I have an extension cord that somebody ran over with a lawnmower. I'm not going to say who, but I think it was me. Matter of fact, I know it was me. And I did a temporary repair on it, and I want to go ahead and solder it together and then do the repair. Yeah. Good idea, huh? Yeah, it would be a great idea, but I didn't get any solder and I'm out of solder, so I can't do anything. We look forward to that too, Ryan. We miss seeing you on the different shows on the different nights. Yeah. Uh, Extension cords aren't hard to fix, but you got to be careful. You're doing it. What I like to do is I like to thread the because they have multiple wires. You thread the wires together like this, and then you twist them, and they hold together. Then I like to solder them, and that makes a pretty permanent splice. Uh, a lot of people just take and use wire nuts or something. I don't like doing that. I'd rather have them soldered together, which makes it a more permanent repair. Of course, none of the Superman stuff up there is for sale because that's part of my collection. It rained here and the grass didn't grow. That's how dry it's been in Texas. Normally, uh, we'll get a 16th of an inch of rain and the grass will grow a foot. But it's been so dry here, all the water just went and didn't stick around. Haley, I'm glad you could stop in. I haven't. I generally don't watch TV. If it's something I think I'm interested in, I just wait till it comes out on DVD and buy it. So that's what I'll be doing with Superman and Lois shows. I'll buy it. I've got Lois and Clark. I've got Smallville. I've got pretty much all of them, or have, but they came out with a whole lot real fast, so I haven't caught up. Yeah, it's pretty full, but it's nowhere near everything I've got. Actually, I've got two X-Men figures there. Those are actually, I think those are on eBay. One is Rogue and the other is Mystique. How are they going to do a new Christopher Reeves movie? Well, silly. Of course, I know how they would do it. Uh, I don't know if I will. Yeah, I watched the first two seasons of Riverdale. I enjoyed it, but then again, I also collect Archie comics. So, in fact, here's one that will surprise you. I also, when I can get it, I pick up stuff like this. These are the Christian comics. Some of them that I've recently picked up. I haven't done much with these. And why do I pick these up? Because most of them were actually published through Archie Comics. Yeah. I have started rewatching House again. And of course, The Big Bang Theory. I've watched that I don't know how many times, but I always enjoy it. But in the pilot episode of House, it shows a woman getting ready to go into an MRI machine, a magnetic resonance machine, and they play the first few bars of the original Star Trek. And if you've never seen that, you got to watch for it, and it'll blow you away when you actually realize it. Yeah, yeah, I remember Highlights magazine. I used to get that when I was little. It's been around a really long time. Yeah, but you need to watch the pilot episode, which is the very first one, and watch that woman when she gets ready to go into magnetic resonance chamber, or the MRI machine. Uh, I've seen that probably 15, 20 times, and I never noticed that until the other night. Yeah, definitely worth checking out that pilot. Actually, they're all good. I can't think of an episode on that show that wasn't good, and I've watched all of them. Yep. I think that was the second episode where he said, "Oh no, no, he did say that in the first episode. You don't die with dignity, you live with it." But like I said, it's got that one scene where they go da 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 da, da and then it goes into some other music, and I just went, "What?" But I think there was an episode of White Dwarf where they actually had music from another show. It might have been from Doctor Who. I can't remember off the top of my head. Yeah, Jennifer Morrison is good. I've watched Once Upon a Time. I think I have all of those. That was Once Upon a Time was done by Disney with permission from Disney. Yeah, I think Lisa Edelstein was in every single episode from the first to the last. I don't remember for sure. There's somebody I haven't seen in ages. Pages, Films, and Plastics. You should have stopped by a week ago Monday. I was doing dollar items. Had a lot of toys and comics and all kinds of stuff for $1 a piece. Nobody bought any. Yeah, it's been a really long time, but we're still doing the auctions on Friday nights on Horizon Pix channel. Yeah, I like a lot of those shows, but I don't like waiting a week to see another episode. I want to watch them all at once, but I don't want to subscribe to a streaming service either. So, like I said, I just wait. DVD comes out, I buy it. That's what I do with a lot of the superhero movies that aren't Marvel. Uh, the DC movies, that's what I do. I buy them on DVD. The Marvel movies, I, I've watched most of them. I just, I can't, I really can't get excited over the Marvel movies. There's like three or four that I really like, and that's about it. The rest of them were, oh, yeah, it's okay. Uh, I liked Thor Ragnarok. I liked uh, the first Iron Man movie, and I liked the first Captain America movie. Those were my three favorites. I haven't seen any of the Penguin because it's not out on DVD yet. What I'm really looking forward to, and I might have to sub to one of the services because I don't know if I want to wait for it to come out on DVD, as I really enjoyed watching that first season of Wednesday on DVD. Yeah, well, the first Iron Man movie. See, I remember reading Tales of was it Tales of Suspense? Yeah, Tales of Suspense 39, the first Iron Man, and that kind of reminded me of it. It wasn't an exact translation of the story, but it was close enough to make me happy. I think he'll do good. His face will be covered. You'll never know it's him. The first comic or comic book in the modern format, in other words, um, 32 to 64 pages, saddle stitch, which means staples, the first comic that had original content, not reprints from other comics, was More Fun number one, which was later became Adventure Comics. And the reason I made that qualification was there was more 1934, I think. I think it was 1934. There were other comic books published around that time, but they were reprints from the newspaper strips. I think it was 1934 was just a second. I'll look it up just to make sure I'm right. Watch, they'll have it listed under adventure. That would be my luck. New Fun Comics is what it was. New Fun Comics became More Fun Comics, which became Adventure Comics. Oh, February 1935. And it had, it was the first appearance from Oswald the Rabbit, Jack Wood's Cowboy Begins. And it was also the first DC comic, but it was the first with all original content. And I would love to have a copy of it. That's one of those comics I've never seen. And that's saying something because I've seen pretty much all of them, especially from the early years. I held Action Comics #1s multiple times. I've never seen a copy of Superman #1. I've never seen a copy of New Fun #1. I have seen More Fun #7, which I didn't realize was the first issue of the first one after they changed the name of it. Yeah, I've never actually seen a copy. I've seen New Fun #2 and others, but I've never actually seen a copy of New Fun #1. One of the more rare comics that there are. I guess that would end up being my holy grail since I'm a DC Comics collector. since it's the first DC comic. Yeah, I would say they're crazy expensive. I didn't look at the price. Let me take a look here at the price on it. This is a relatively newer price guide. It's from this year. But for comics like that, it's pretty accurate. A good a good 3.0 copy, $9,000. Very fine. Let's see. Good, very good. Fine. Very fine, 63,000. There's nothing listed above very fine. Yeah, to me, anything over $2,000 is crazy expensive. Yeah, Marvel comics are they're overpriced. They really are uh, for what they are. I mean, look at the price of Hulk 181. It's outrageous because there are just as many Hulk 181s out there as there are 182s and 180s and 183s. But there, if you look at the prices, there's huge difference there. And people say, "Oh yeah, but it's the first appearance of Wolverine." Well, that doesn't matter. And the reason it doesn't matter is because there's still the same quantity of them out there. It's just, and most of the Hulk 181s are not in the hands of collectors. Most of the Hulk 181s are in the hands of the dealers. Think about it. How many times have you gone to a show and you see a dealer with like 3 or 4 copies of it? It happens a lot. Uh, a lot of the Silver Age Marvels are undervalued, in my opinion, but those Bronze Age ones are way overvalued. There are a lot of them out there. That's about the time that people started collecting comics and started hoarding them. So there's more 181s out there than people would have you believe. It's not a rare comic at all. It's not rare at all. That's all there is to it. It's just not a rare comic. But then rarity has nothing to do with the value of a comic, if you think about it. Because I have some really rare comics, ones that nobody's ever seen. They're just not that expensive. Yeah, you don't go to a con, every other dealer has like 4 or 5 copies of it. Yeah, the demand for Hulk 181 is high, uh, and therefore, rather than having it at a reasonable price where everybody can afford to buy it and making the demand lower, they have a really high price on it and keep the demand high. I've seen rare comics. I mean, really, really rare comics that are worth 15, $20, and they're like 70 years old. Any comic published before 1946 is rare. People don't want to admit it, but it's true. Yeah, I think it is. But in during the 1940s, in the middle 1940s, they had paper drives where people were turning in their paper, and comics were part of that paper that was being turned in. So really, any comic published before 1946 is a little on the rare side. Not ultra rare, but a little rare. It's a little scarce, I would say. Not so much rare as scarce. Same thing with the early 60s comics. They had paper drives in the early 60s also. I remember them. I remember people throwing their comics in on the paper drives. Uh, yeah, Giant X-Men #1 is another good example. Although I'm not going to say that's quite as overvalued as 181 is. Hulk or Spider-Man 129 has actually is not as valuable as what it could be. But that's because the Punisher is not as popular as he used to be. And if he is if he is more popular, let me know, Ryan, and I'll take a trip over to your place. You can buy all of mine. I've got a couple of small boxes full of Punisher. Not Spider-Man 129s. I don't have any more of those. I had 2 copies at one point. I sold the mid-grade copy for about $70 back in the 90s. And the high grade copy I had, which I would have considered to be near mint to mint, which would be about a 9.6, a 9.8, that was stolen. It should be. It should be more valuable than X-Men '94. GS1 is actually the first appearance of the new X-Men. Yeah, see, it's just the demand for Spider-Man 129 is not as high as the demand for Hulk 181. Well, Roy, you and Ryan can probably make that deal happen, depending on what he wants for him. That's cold-blooded. I don't think it's going to help. Uh, the last time the Punisher showed up in the TV show, it didn't really do much, didn't help much. Well, that kind of hurts. Yeah, the only Punishers that really have any value as far as the comics go, really are those issues. I think what 8 and 9, the ones with the Wolverine in them. Other than that, they're not. None of them are really worth much. I sold all my Fantastic Fours. I sold 5 through I think about 150, and 1, 2, and 3 back in 1976. Got a good price for them. Yeah, it's crazy what people do. My Spider-Man run, I sold number 2 through probably 140 back in 1976 also, but I sold number 1 and number 2, or not number 1, number 1 in Amazing Fantasy 15 I sold in 1975. Got $90 a piece for them, so I wasn't upset, considering I paid $15 for both of them a year before. Yeah, yeah. Keep going with the low grade stuff until you're comfortable with it. I mean, I pick up low grade books and work on them all the time. Just like this, that was a low grade book that I'm working on. It's uh, as you can see, it has chunks missing out of the top. It's missing a chunk out of the corner here. It's got spine splits, and the spine is kind of ragged, and it's not in very good shape. So I figured it was a great candidate to try to clean, and that's what I did with it. 10 to 15 minutes with this, and that means I can probably clean that whole back cover with that in less than an hour. Yeah, and sometimes you can go to a comic shop and they'll have crap comics that you can get for 10 or 15 cents a piece, or sometimes they'll even just give them to you to get rid of them. Did that with one of the comic shops down in Temple. He gave me some comics, and one of them was a pretty good book. So I cleaned it up. I pressed it. I took it back in and said, "Remember that one book I said was worth something?" He said, "Yeah, the one that was in crap condition." I said, "Yeah, well, here it is." And he just looked at it and went, "How'd you do that?" Yeah, he bought it back from me for $5. I think he sold it for 20. So yeah, I got it for free, sold it back to him for 5, and he sold it for 20. That'll work. Stuff like that doesn't happen very often, but it does. It's fun. But as far as my books, I'm not afraid to work on any book I own. Uh, I if if the cover was dirty or it needed a press, I'd work on my Action 252. I just, it doesn't bother me. I'm prepared to take that loss if something happens. And you kind of have to be in that mindset when you're going to start working on comics. When you're going to start cleaning and pressing and getting into the real nitty gritty of cleaning and pressing and getting out every little dent and ding that's possible. You got to be prepared to ruin it, because one slip up is all it takes. Did it still have that? Did it still? Did I have that certificate in the back of that one, Ryan? Yeah, that makes me happy when I restore something and somebody has it and they don't want to sell it. Yeah, yeah. See that when something like that, like I said, when somebody has something and it's got a certificate like that, and they say it's not for sale, that's mine, and obviously you probably have a better copy of it, but that's not the point. I gave a few of those away, and people turned around and sold them, and it just pissed me off, so I stopped doing that. Um, yeah, I had one. I wonder if I still have it. I don't think I do. No, I don't think I have an X-Men 50 anymore. I think I sold all my early X-Men. I still have a lot of X-Men. Um, I probably should go ahead and start selling them off, because I've never really collected X-Men since the 60s or 70s. Since they started doing the reprints, I quit buying them. Uh, so I missed out on the giant size X-Men and the X-Men 94 and all of those. I missed out on those when they first came out, because X-Men was a reprint magazine and I was tired of it. I'd rather spend my quarter on something else. It isn't it great as a shop owner to look at somebody and say, "That's not for sale. That's mine." That's the greatest feeling. All right. Well, let me know when you want to come on, and I'll bring you on a Wednesday and as part of the show, because I'm interested in having guests on occasionally. It makes it easier when I have someone to talk to. So yeah, sometime when you're ready, just pop me an email or an Instagram message, and I'll bring you on. And you can talk about whatever you want, or you can talk about new comics that came out. Because, of course, Wednesday's not so much a new comic day as it used to be. I think it's more like Tuesday and Thursday now. I'm not really sure, but yeah, I'm willing to bring other people on. I'll probably bring on Roy one someday, and might even be able to talk Patrick into coming on at some point. I can always hope. Glad you could stop in, V. Yeah, that's the one I was thinking it was the green Steranko. I have a lot of Steranko, but I don't have that. I do have. That's okay. It's okay if you're late. You made it. That's all that counts. But yeah, that would be fun. Where we show pressed books. Uh, yeah, I've got some iconic Steranko covers too because I have most of the original Shield series, Nick Fury Agent of Shield series from the '60s. I think those came out around '68 or '69. I have most of those. I don't have all of them. It's not something I'm worried about completing. I'm not going to sell them though, not anytime soon because it's Steranko. Yeah, I've got number 4. I'll dig out my Steranko comics and show them next week. Maybe I'll dig them out and press them. I know I have one of them that's signed. I'm not sure which one it is. Many years ago, back at a DC Comic Con, I met him back in the early '70s. I think it was around '73, '74, somewhere around there. Yeah, long time ago. Really long time ago. Back when my hair was still brown. Uh, that Comic Con was put on by a guy by the name of Gary Groth, who is the publisher for some adult comics now. Back Gary Groth was still publishing Fantastic Fanzine back then. And fight I would fight over table space with this guy that thought he knew a lot about comics by the name of Steve Jeppy. So I met a lot of people in the early days. Yeah, back before there was a Diamond Comics. Matter of fact, he asked me, "You want to go in and do a comic shop together?" And I went, "Where?" It's in Baltimore. And I went, "Nah, I'm like, I live in Virginia. Why would I drive up to Baltimore?" He said, "You'd have to move up there." No. He said, "Well, I'm going to quit my job and start it." He was working at the post office. And said, "You've lost your mind. You'll be begging for your job back in 6 months." Yeah, I think I might have messed up. There's a bunch of people that were starting comic shops in the early 70s that didn't last long. I was working at a hobby shop for a while and had comics in there that belonged to me. I was selling comics out of there. Doing pretty good. Actually, I was doing better than the comic shop, better than most of the other stuff for the hobbies was. And it wasn't doing bad, but yeah, my comics sold pretty good. Yeah, yeah, I might have been wrong then. Like the guy right out after high school that said, "Hey, let I got this business plan, and I'd like you to be part of it." And I said, "What is it?" He said, "Well, you do installation and I do sales." And I thought, might not be a bad gig. What is it? He said, "We're going to go into homes and install security systems." And I just looked at him and I said, "You lost your mind. Nobody's going to want a security system in their home." He retired at age 36. That was wrong number one. Wrong number two would have been Jeppy. Yeah, he sold his business and retired at 36. I'm sure he went on to do other things, but and there was the time was in Oakland at a Comic Con in Oakland, California, and I was looking at a copy of Action Comics #1. The guy wanted $10,000 for it, which was kind of pricey, and I knew to buy that I'd probably have to remortgage my house. And I said, "Well, let me talk to my wife about it." And on the way home, I talked myself out of it. About about 12, 13 years later, she asked me if I'd ever had a chance to buy it. I said, "Yeah." And I told her about that. And she just looked at me and said, "Why didn't you?" Nah, I've got a lot of times where I was wrong. Okay. I was a lot of times when I got it wrong. Most of them revolve around Action Comics #1. Uh, right now, I'm thinking for segments, of course, I'm going to have the comics that I've pressed, uh, a tip or a tool that you might want to use when you're working on comics. The copy that I was looking at, probably between 5 and 600,000. Uh, it wasn't the best copy in the world, but it was a nice copy. It would have cost me 10 grand. But there's a few times I got it right, even though I was wrong. I've got comics that I paid way too much for at the time, way overpaid for them, that are worth a whole lot more than what they were then. I don't know. That copy, I would have said it'd be maybe a fine plus. So it might it might have cracked. It might have made. It might make it up to 1 million because it was really nice. No, I bought a comic for way over price. Paid way too much for it. Probably paid close to twice what it was worth um, at the time, and it's probably in the $10,000 to $15,000 range now. So I did good. Yeah. So there you go. But you know what? It's not worth that much if you're not willing to sell it. Think about that for a minute. How much is it worth if you're not willing to sell it? That's what it's worth. It's worth nothing if you're not willing to sell it. And if you are willing to sell it, it's only worth what someone is willing to pay for it. But if I had bought it and it's 10,000 and I had bought it, I'm sure Ryan would give me twice that for it. Now, I don't know, Ryan, would you give 20K for a fine copy of Action 1? I'm sure you would. Worth about that much. It's a one of a kind. It's the only one in the world like that. So there you go. It's rare. You can actually say that X-Men 42 is a rare comic. X-Men 42 isn't a rare comic, but that particular one is because there's only one of them. And there's not a whole lot that I did certificates for. So that kind of makes it even more rare, doesn't it? Yeah, that's about right. It's hard to believe, but I've been on YouTube for about 4 or 5 years now. Still haven't hit 1,000. Still don't make money. That's okay. Although the that one video I did with that E-Man, with this one where I took the wrinkles out of it, that one has nearly 700 views. And it's only a 5 or 6 minute video, so they probably watched the whole thing. Yeah, yeah, you can actually go back and watch it. That's the thing about the certificates. I put down the video that it appeared on so that people can go back and actually watch it if they want. Yeah, I think I'm going to shut this down. I'll see everybody next week. Well, actually, I'll see everybody on Friday night on Horizon Picks channel when he does his auction. Uh, go ahead and drop the link to that in the chat, Roy, and I'll see everybody then. My throat's getting a little parched, and I'm out of coffee. So, Coffee with Chaos or Coffee with Collecting Chaos is over for this week. I'll be back on next week. I might move the time back to 8 o'clock, but probably not. Probably leave it at 8:30. I like the 8:30 time frame. So we'll see you then, and everybody take care. Have a great night, and we'll finish this off with my old friend who is no longer with me. So, bye, everybody. Have a great time.